mai marama, tangoi o petane, o wahi ana e. Ko wi ko hepa, hami ora e, ko te taura ke te. Kai aku nui, kai aku rahiti hei mauri ora. E tuana hau ke te whakamihi ki a koutou mō tēnei huihuinga i tēnei pō. Ka tū ki te mihi huki ki ngā mana whenua o tēnei takiwā o te rohe o Tāmaki Makaurau. E mihi ana ki a koutou, kei te mihi, kei te mihi, kei te mihi. Ko ai au e tū ake nei mui a koutou, ko Mouse Huata Lucas, a.k.a. Misty K. E mihi ana ki a koutou mō te pō. Nōku te whiwhi, ka tautoko a hau tōku hua o te mahi roto i te kaunihira o Tāmaki Makaurau mō tēnei kaupapa whakahirahira o tātou. I te hunga o ngā mahi kaiwaiata, ngā tangata kaiwaiata me ngā momo āhuatanga o te Aotearoa. Nōku te whiwhi, ka tū ki te mihi ki a koutou. Kia ora everybody, my name is Mouse. I am one of our whānau from Te Kaunihira o Tāmaki Makaurau, and I am the Māori Culture and Identity Program Lead for the Matariki Festival. I am here as a ring-in, actually, but I'm actually here to tautoko my whānau for this beautiful event that we have tonight, and I just wanted to start with a bit of a waiata from where I'm from. I'm from the Hawke's Bay, from a place called Kohu Pātaki, and just acknowledging all my whānau, because I know how nerve-wracking it can be for us as kai waiata. It's a little bit different to standing here publicly speaking to you all, but for me, I think it's just important to know that when you do stand up in places like this, you have the strength of your people always behind you. And for me, it's always just knowing where I come from and knowing that no matter where I go, it's always those foundations, those solid foundations that keep us solid in who we are. And so I just wanted to start my kōrero with that first, and then also to acknowledge the people of this area who manaki us as mātāwaka, not being from Auckland, but feeling the manakitanga from the people of Auckland, from all of our iwi, and especially for those who are mana whenua of this area. So, ngā e mihi ana ki a koutou katoa. Nō reira, ka tika me hoki atu ki te whakatūwhera o tō tātou nei hui, kei raro i te korowai aroha o Matariki, me te karakia. Nō reira, me inoi tātou. Uhia mai rā, te rere āio ki runga i tēnei pō, ki roto i tēnei mahi, he mahi tika, he mahi pono. Kei raro i te korowai aroha o Matariki. Matariki ki te wai i tēnei wā, nō reira, ho mai tō aroha o tātou. Aio, haumi e hui e, tāe ki e.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Gene Rivers tōku ingoa, ko te aupauri, arawa ko ngā pui oku iwi, hiuri tēnei, no te taitokere no te moana nui ākiwa, no Vavau, no United Kingdom, ārā, ingarani no Airani hoki. Koinei taku mihi ki a koutou e tēnei rā. My name is Gene Rivers, and I have the honour and the privilege and the weight of hosting this FETU Creative Forum. Before I invite our panel up on stage, just a few thank yous. Obviously, MOTAT for having us, the staff for looking after us this evening, and Lance, Nita Mihi to Lance Puliai, who's provided this platform. And to give context to what FETU Creative Forum is, it's a platform for tangata mōna creatives, for us, by us, and featuring our beautiful creative artists in whatever field. In this particular context, it is around Matariki, obviously, but also, obviously, with those artists that I'm about to invite up, centered around music. So thank you all for joining us this evening. Thank you, Mels, for opening us, sis. But without further ado, I'd like to welcome our artists, Troy Kingi, Majic Paora, Spell, Matariki, and my whanaunga, Coco Solid, to the stage, please. A round of applause. And I think everyone saw that the listed time was around 7:30, but you're dealing with Māoris and Islanders here, so it is what it is. We'll get there when we get there.
Just admiring the bro's konohi. We haven't seen him.
Yes, bro. Yes, bro. So before we get into our questions, I invite you all to introduce yourselves. I think everybody knows who you are, but please, one at a time, to go introduce yourselves, starting with your brother Spell.
Mate, te awhānau, my name is Spell. He uri tēnei no te tai rāwhiti, ki te tau taku māma, Ngāti Porou, te whānau a Rua Taupare, and that's on my nan side and my koro side. We Ngaitahu, Kaitahu from down Banks Peninsula, from a little place called Wairewa. Go all the way back up to my dad's side, Waikato Tainui, Ngāti Tainga, and Swiss. We're Swiss now. Yeah, I'm a Swiss Māori. Flash. That's me. Yeah, I'm a DJ and I make beats and all that. Anyways. True.
Tēnā tātou, tuatahi me mihi ki a koe sis, nau I huakina tēnei hui, no reira tēnā koe o tira korua tahi. Tino hariko ana, te noho tahi ki a koutou, o tira ki a tātou katoa. He uri tēnei no Ngāti Whātua o Rākei, kei a mātou te mana ki ēnei whenua, no reira ki a koutou, nau mai, haere mai. Yeah, I was just talking about on my Instagram how nervous I am at speaking publicly, and it is different to singing publicly. We were also arguing about who was going to sit in the middle. Congratulations, Mata. I'm a mum, and I'm someone who's really passionate about her iwi. Ngāti Whātua o Rākei, Ngāti Whātua ki Kaipara te Tāoū, and I also love to sing. Tēnā tātou.
Kia ora mai tātou katoa. I te tau o taku nan, no Maniapoto. She's Anderson. No te whānau Anderson. Te kahika. That's my kahungunu side. That's my granddad. And taku whaia no te Waipounamu. Tipa's her last name. And so yeah, we there's a bit of pretty much kura haupo a few times. And yeah, nā reira mihi ana kia tātou. Thank you for having me here, and I'll try not to sound like a Māori Rain Man as we go tonight, so bear with me. But yeah, that's me, beatmaker. Kia ora tātou.
Tēnā rā tātou, ko Coco tōku ingoa, ko ngā pui te iwi, ko te pōpoto te hapu, ki utukura, risa tonu, ki te bro. Yeah, ki te taha o tōku pāpā, no Hamoa me Te Amani Huki. Kia ora everyone, I'm Coco. artists, musician, mutants vibe. I'm really happy to be on this kaupapa, ngā mihi nui Jean, mea Lance, mō te kaupapa I tēnei pō, te kaupapa Matariki, he whakahirira. Thanks.
Kia ora tātou. Ko Troy Piripi Kingi tēnei. Tipu ake au I whānau mai au I te hoipera o Rotorua nui a kaumata momoi. Ana I tipu ake au I te rohe o te whānau apanui kātai I rere atu au ki te nōta ki te taitokero I reira au e noho ana I naenei. He uri tēnei no te aroa ngāpu I te whānau apanui hoki. I'm a singer maybe, and most of the time I'm just doing a lot of washing at home. 5 children. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Please a round of applause for our panel this evening. We're gonna, eventually we're gonna take the gloves off and that'll be pretty quickly, but we're gonna just, a question for you all, and you don't need to answer this, but it is a question for you all, just around the fact that we are in Matariki, and personally, and it's something that I've seen perhaps, having grown up in an urban environment, a little bit disconnected. It wasn't something that I celebrated overtly, and maybe in the last 10 years it became more of a prominent thing in my life. But as artists, how does this now present to you as a season and as an opportunity?
Just because I'm here, do I have to start every single time? No.
Well, as a season, for one, I'm pretty busy this week, and I think a lot of Māori artists are during Matariki week. But to be honest, growing up, I knew a bit about Matariki, but it's only since Rangi Mātāma was put it at the forefront that I've actually really got to know about Matariki, But also, like maramataka stuff, not even Matariki stuff, following the moon, starting to get a bit more involved in the way that we interact with our environment, like emotionally and with our energies, and now I can kind of link to nights when shit wasn't going right, and then now I'm like, actually that was probably a Whiro night, or it was probably not the night you should have been doing stuff, but I didn't actually realize that at the time. But I can kind of pinpoint moments where things have been going well for me and things haven't been going right for me. And now I know it's kind of an environmental thing and I should have been actually following the moon patterns. I don't know if that answered the question.
No, that's exactly, because I think it impacts us on us all differently. So hearing each of your thoughts on how it affects you and how that affects the creative process or just in general as people. So, Jess?
I remember we were talking about our relationship with advocating for it, and I remember as a much younger artist really pushing for it to be normalised and popularised, selfishly probably motivated by holidays and partying and having a massive feed. But then I think it's become an ideological kind of push to normalise our knowledge systems and to create opportunities for Indigenous knowledge to be used and activated in a really pragmatic, helpful way that kind of restores not just the collective union stuff, but for our health, for our spirit. And connecting it to the maramataka and the way that we can extend on our mātauranga and the way that we can use it as a tool to kind of further other agendas we might have. I think for me it's a great excuse to really just record scratch and be like, where am I? What am I doing? You know, and Te Ao Pākehā, just to like put the brakes on and just be like, actually, no, this is a time for the whenua and the stars and everything to kind of be in collaboration with who we are as the people of the land and the artists as well. We be booked and busy. We be booked and busy in Matariki. I know it's a time for rest, but everybody here is just like, I got to be there at 5, you know. But I think that's okay because it's part of the jubilation. Yes. It's part of the, creating the conversation around it so that it becomes so burnt in and normalised for future generations.
Kia ora.
This might be an unpopular opinion, but I think that Māoritanga has become quite commercialised, and so the traditions within our culture become a thing. And I think that the way you asked it instead of the way that it was actually written down on the piece of paper was way better, and that then resulted into Troy talking about the maramataka. And so, for example, our iwi Ngāti Whātua Rākei host a hautapu every Matariki. This year it's on the 20th, this Friday at 6 a.m. Takaparafo guys, come through. And so it's actually, my perspective really is for those of us who are well and truly involved with our Māoritanga, iwitanga, it's a time that we get to practice our traditions, and because the hautapu isn't for us and it's actually for everyone, it's public, it's a time that we can actually share space with people from Tāmaki, Makaurau, and from all across the world. But when I read the question, it said, how does Matariki influence you? And as a Māori, I think it's not something that we get influenced by, it's more something, it's just who we are. Yeah.
Yeah, not bad for someone who's nervous. No, but yeah, I guess the way I paraphrase the questions were just, I guess, broad.
You said it better.
Yeah, thank you, sis. Mara, you got... but yeah, I'm glad you touched on that too, because there must be an inherent risk of it being commercialised with the increased visibility, but the benefits are still present. Mara, thoughts?
Gosh, I tried to have a jam for a month, like zoning into which moon it was. Things got weird, They got weird. They got, you know, like, I think around about FETU, I was just like, man, this music is coming out like dark, and then for a good through Tidia or and then maybe there was a spot where it started coming back. I was like, oh man, and then I felt like a whole new person. But listening back to the music over the year when the moon sort of like disappears, it was interesting how sort of I was just affected by it pretty much, and didn't really want to leave the house, and I guess that was a spot where I was trying to see what is the influence that it has on me, and you know, maybe I can work it out if I make a song on this particular day. And I remember that Otane, that was nice, Orongo, that was nice, but yeah, FETU was out, and and Tamatea, that was out as well. It was kind of a bit of a wild one, but yeah, to be honest, I'm just at the start of trying to figure out what it all means really to myself. Just the effect that it has on my being, because I think it has some effect on me. I've just gone completely off track, but trying to answer your question about how does it affect your mahi. Certainly certain times, and then other times of it I haven't had enough time sitting with it to understand it just yet, but there's certainly phases that something's going on. Yeah.
No, thank you for that, because, you know, I think maramataka wasn't something that I phrased in the question initially, but I'm glad you went there, because having that level of consciousness, it was something that I wasn't raised with the awareness of, and you know, more recently, until it's become, some of that knowledge has been more visible and accessible, I start to become aware of how I'm moving just within my daily. And so you were saying about, like, you're the type of person that works constantly. It's like, actually, I need to be aware of when to pull back, and when to be aware of maramataka and how it's affecting me personally. I digress. Spell.
Yeah, no, that was pretty hardcore. I'm still pretty new to just the concept of Matariki. When I was growing up, it didn't exist, and now it does, and now we have a holiday. So now, after just hearing the bro, maybe it does affect me without me being aware. Yeah.
Especially being someone who's, like, predominantly offshore, I guess that's, like, it's not something that's presently accessible. I suppose the internet provides access to what's happening back home, though, right?
Yeah, but, yep. Did I answer your question? I don't even know what the question was.
I've got something to add though.
Yo.
Because when you read the maramataka, sometimes it'll tell you whether it's low, medium, high energy. And I think you need to take note on what that actually means to you. So whiro to mara won't be that great, but to another friend of mine, it could be like high energy can also mean in the flight mode, the fly or flight mode. And sometimes you're operating on a very overwhelming high energy, you know, level. And so sometimes when you read it, it depends on how you take that on board. The auntie who comes out with the quotes like, okay, it's a good day to watch Netflix today. What's her name? Is it Henny or something?
Yeah.
That cracks me up, because that actually can intentionally create an energy for someone to go, yeah, she said that it's a dumb day to go out today or something, or yep, nah, it says. So people can be influenced by that, and I know they are, like heaps of my mates share it, but I'm like, hey, I'm not even on that level. So the energy level, meaning low, medium and high, depends on the person.
No, exactly. It should be about, like, because everyone is individual to themselves, right? And there's no hard and fast rule around that this is the particular energy level, so then everyone responds in a certain way. That's exactly what you're saying, right? That I think being sensitive to who we are and understanding who we are as individuals and how those energies affect us is essential to really navigating maramataka.
Because rākau nui, sorry, shush, hey, now I was nervous, now all of a sudden I'm, because rākau nui is the full moon, right? And that's supposed to be like the, you know, like the yes. But that time keeps me up, and then next day I'm tired, you know. So high energy means like you're like amping, but it doesn't always mean that it's like a positive thing as well. So anyways.
Choice.
What about for people like me that, like, I don't read the charts, or you know, I'm not hip to the maramataka, but surely it must have effect on.
I'm not a professional, bro. You got to.
It sounds like you are.
But you follow all the moons by the sounds of it.
You just go.
You're over in America. They're following the bloody. They're calling the stars Sagittarius or something. So.
Okay, that was question one. But I think it sets a tone for the season. But like we're invited here as rangatira within music, so I do want to dive into music pretty quickly, if that's okay. And a kind of broad question. But if Aotearoa has a sound, have we defined it? And what does that sound like?
I think Troy's proved that, like, there's there's so much more to us than you would imagine, or there's corners of this country that there might be there's like throat singing happening in like Westport, and you wouldn't even know. There's, and maybe at one, I know for a fact that Mokotron, for example, is like defying genres, or just defying our expectations of what Māori music can be. Coco's been doing that for a long, long time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's a particular sound, but I feel like there's a particular way that we go about doing stuff. And we're very, not only in music, we're very DIY country. A lot of us are doing, writing the song, recording the song, mixing the song. A lot of us have our hands in all the pies, but that's just because we're just down here, disconnected from a lot of things that we just have to do it, otherwise shit just takes too long. So as far as the sound, I don't know if there's a sound. Dusty, if that's a sound. Shit, I don't know.
Jess, you got thoughts?
Sound, man.
I think one of the things that I like about Aotearoa is that even within the kind of petri dish, kind of tiny whenua that we have, we are still always determined to offer the spectrum of things, and even te ao Māori, it's one of the things that we're always having to assert in our Māori artistry, is that there's 1,000 ways to do it, and you can't really compare or conflate one artist to another, not even a Māori artist to another, as you can probably see. And so I think Aotearoa's sound would kind of imply there's this default homogenized kind of, I recognise that straight away. And that's not to say that, there isn't an energy or share, or a quality that kind of transcends, where you can see that we have something that unifies the way we make. But I think to want to identify like an Aotearoa sound would be a fool's errand.
Yeah.
Because, I know that there was a brief success with like all that flying nun stuff and the Dunedin sound, but I also know a lot of pissed off people in Dunedin who hate that blanket term, and so I think that it would be very much the same. I think, it's always something you have to myth bust out of, especially if you're like a nerd. You're always wanting to like Troy and all of their different genres of albums, and not to call you a nerd, bro, but
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. And I'm the same. I think we're all ambitious. We want to try new things. We want to see like how close to the sun of a genre we can really get in terms of our own abilities. So I think it's like, if there is one, it's about expansiveness, and it's about myth busting, and it's about breaking out of those things.
Any other thoughts from the panel?
I think the point is that that Māori or Māoritanga isn't defined by one voice and one sound. I think the point is that we express ourselves through sound, through our hands, so I think what we're trying to define as individuals is what is being a Māori to us. What does that mean to us individually? And then you add on the music to the end. So if we see our marae as being the symbol of our culture, and we have no contribution to the functioning of that tohu, symbol, or if we believe that an iwi makes us Māori and we don't contribute to that iwi, then for urban Māori or for Māori who are just finding out about their culture again, we've got to define that for ourselves. And so when we define that, then individually we're going to share our truths, which is what's going to come out in our music. So it might be just the beats that we make, or it might be the lyrics that we write about. It might be someone that we have a part of our culture, but I think it's not. I think the point I'm trying to make is that it's Māori is not defined by one voice and one sound. It's an expression that we all individually, express.
Right. Spell?
Yeah, what she said. Seriously. Pretty much what she said, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess kind of leads into this next question. So, not around defining what is Māori music, but in terms of if somebody was to, from the outside looking in, and try to understand what it was and what it could be in its whatever beyond genre. I guess if we were looking at it from you and all of you individually, and you're just speaking for yourselves, not for Māori, but as individuals, what makes is your music Māori, or is it a genre that you're presenting, or a style?
Well, if you're not speaking te reo, I wouldn't say it's Māori music, because I would say you need the reo for that. That's just my opinion. However, how we express ourselves is a type of way of being Māori as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, the rest of the panel, got thoughts on that?
I make instrumental music. I'm a Māori.
Is your music Māori?
That's Māori music.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Because again, these questions, there's no right or wrong answer, and everyone sees it differently, and this is the point of having everyone voice their opinions on this. Because externally, I think people want to put us in boxes and say this is or this isn't, and I wouldn't say anything is any less if it's the intention behind it and the whakapapa behind it. They could determine that. But I'm really keen to hear Troy and Jess and Mother's thoughts on this.
Yeah. Obviously, if you sing in Māori, it's going to be a Māori song. But like for myself, I write a lot of stuff in English. But I feel like I write a lot of it from a Māori point of view as well. So that's just a subconscious thing, you know. I've grown up through koanga reo, kura kaupapa. So you're just writing through your own lens. So if your lens is Māori, yeah, obviously you speak in Māori, it's going to be Māori. But if it's not in Māori, I feel like the view can still be a Māori view. Yeah.
Jess?
Yeah, tautoko that. I think I have a lot of music in English and much less Māori, but I'm clocked as a Māori artist and I'm happy about that, and I embrace that. And the subject matter and the lens is always there. I think even when I'm trying to absolutely divert from that and, you know, have my Caucasian Karen, you know, music moment, I always fail. And it's, you know, the kind of the energy, the he and the wihi is still there because it's inextricable. But I also tautoko the constant aspiration to get closer to more te reo in my music and more of those principles. Yeah.
Mara?
Yeah, I couldn't say it better than that. That's it right there. As for those of us who grew up with our parents on weird drum machines, you know, smoking Dak and Honours rolling, or Boss beat machine, you know, and I couldn't sort of help but end up in some strange box with, you know, with what he was doing, and his other like fantastic, you know, dope smoking aunties and uncles who are like into Eastern gurus and acid taking, and then we go to Rātana for the 21st. I was just like, man, what is this? What is this universe, man? What is this? Where am I? Who am I? Who am I? And so, and then how do you put that all together into something that's supposed to be something? He waiata Māori tēnei, or, you know, it's like it's just gonna happen. It's just gonna happen without, you know, and either somebody will view it as being Māori and get some, hopefully for me, get something out of it, or hopefully in time people will get something out of it, as, you know, Coco Jess was saying, that through our sort of that aspirational thing of wanting to do more kaupapa things and more te reo Māori and our kōrero and concepts and stuff, as they make their way into us first, hopefully it'll get into the music, and then it'll get into, you know, rangatahi, or, you know, yeah, te ao pōpō o mātou tamariki, you know, but it is an aspirational sort of thing. Sometimes we're like, man, I don't know if I'm really cracking it, and if I'm Māori, or the song's even Māori, but we just keep trying. And it's just the effort, It's the effort for me that's the Māori bit.
Right, yes. So the effort and the intention.
Can I just say something?
Yes, of course.
Because I just listened to my mates and I feel like I came out attacking everybody. But I think the question too is it a te reo Māori song or is it a Māori song? Because by the sounds of it, the two perspectives are different. So te reo Māori is obviously about the language and it being te reo, but then the question about are you Māori enough is the waiata Māori, that's actually another question. So maybe the question is, do you do te reo Māori music or is it Māori music? Because I'm the same. People ask me, I'm not a te reo Māori advocate. I'm just a Māori who sings waiata Māori when I feel like it, and one who sings English when I feel like it. And my reo's not as good as my brother, but my perspective is absolutely the same, and I'd say that's Māori as. Yes. So, yeah.
On that, what are your collective thoughts around Pākehā or non-Māori who then take a song and then sing that song in te reo Māori?
All good.
Yeah, I think it's all good. It all comes down to intention, really. But, you know, if some white person wants to sing in Māori, it's like, mean. Fuck, they want to sing our language, go hard. You know, I sing Spanish songs, probably not perfect. I hear songs that I don't even understand the words I'm singing, so... yeah. I feel like everyone should be singing the Māori. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For me, it's about resources, and as long as resources are being prioritised for Māori artists who have been dispossessed of their reo, and it's been taken from them, that they are just as equally prioritised as privileged Pākehā artists to sing in their reo.
Word.
I think that those
Are you
resources...
talking about funding?
I don't know what I'm... I just mean attention. I mean, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
No, let's go.
attention, resources, things like translators, people teaching the reo back, you know, it can be a bit hard, I know, but pauri for a lot of people to be seeing a reo that was taken from them historically, then sold back to them by the people who took it. But
Yes. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just, you know,
Yeah.
and I feel like I don't have a problem with it as long as there's a bit of equity there. Because I know that's where a lot of the riri comes from in that conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that
Absolutely.
people are watching somebody achieve their wildest dreams and it can hurt them a lot.
Yeah.
I think we get quite taboo about language, because language is used to, once again, express yourself. And I think we use that word tapu quite a lot about things. So like we say, hey, don't sit on this table because it's tapu. No, you're not going to get no heebie-jeebies. It's just yuck because you eat on it, you know. So when we're talking about language, and I actually had a student from SAE ask me, I'm of Māori heritage. Would it be okay if I sing in Māori? And I'm like, yeah, but you just got to know what you're talking about, that's all. And then with other ethnicities singing in Te Reo Māori, yeah, I agree with Troy, it's definitely the intention. Like if they're taking the mickey, you know, that's not cool, because our language is a doorway to Te Ao Māori, and we to us it is something that is atua sen, you know, but it's just a language at the end of the day. So if you're someone who's passionate about learning the language of the country that you live in, that's amazing.
On the whole funding situation or resources, this might be a bit sensitive, but how do you all feel about the, I guess, examples of disproportionate or funding going to Pākehā artists that have been already funded by a construct, and then have access to toi Māori money or resources over and above Māori artists who may not be working in the reo space?
I just want to talk about Māori artists, really.
Yeah. No, ka pai. But anyone else got any thoughts on that?
Just give us the funding first before you give it to white people. Hey,
Yeah,
the
mate.
gist of what you were saying? Is
You
that
may
the
be
gist?
not all white, eh?
Yeah, no, they're not all white. But is that's what you kind of, is that what you were kind of getting at? Yeah. Is that it feels stink for us when you know, when white people get the funding to do some Māori music and then we miss out?
Maybe, I don't know. Let's just, next question.
Okay, moving along, and this is a subject, I guess, that's quite sensitive to me because it was something that my father had to do, and I've seen it having to be, and it's not necessarily the rule because there's no set rules around this, but in particular around my father's generation of the show band era, where they had to leave Aotearoa to advance their careers. And then I see Electric White Hustle, for example, would do sellout shows in London and so forth, and you know, may not have been as well received locally as we were internationally. Do you have any thoughts around just around that as a thing, or have you experienced that? And yeah, just general thoughts.
I feel like that's been going on for a long time, you know.
Yeah.
Since way back. Bands don't really get any traction here until they've done something overseas. You got to look at Alien Weaponry, you know. They've been over in Europe, and Europeans doing the haka back to them where no one's even going, you know. Not that sort of level over here in New Zealand, so I think that's more to our psyche. You know, you look at us at an All Black game, don't get a try, and we're like, woo. Then you go to a football game and everyone's screaming, you know. I think it's just it's just who we are as people in this country. We've been brought up to be super quiet, humble, not too loud. Yes, I'm talking about our audience at the moment, sorry. Yeah, we've got some funny audiences, man, over here. You know, like, I'm not going to say where I played, but it was pretty dry. And then I got off and I signed a few records in there, and someone came to me and was like, "That's the greatest show I've ever been to in my life." I'm like, what the fuck? Fuck, it was like, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I think it's just us as people over here. We need to show our artists a bit more appreciation when we go out, you know?
Yeah.
Go out to the shows and let our artists know that, fuck, we love this shit. Let us know, because we do like it.
Did anyone go to Joe Damon's show at Sky City?
No.
Because the bro had an amazing way on expressing like Kiwis or like people from Aotearoa. Like someone would ask a Kiwi person or whatever, New Zealander, Māori, whatever you want to call yourselves, what do you want to be when you're older? And we'll be like, too shy to say it. You go over to America and you ask them, what would you like to be when you're older? And they'll be like, I want to be Superman. You know, and it's like, yeah. But then when we come over here, it's like, so do you want to be Superman? It's like, I don't know, eh?
It's too much.
It's too much. I explained it really dumb, but he had an amazing way at just explaining the Aotearoa audience.
Yeah, I think we've kind of it's just our society. We've been brought up and we've seen our parents and everyone act a certain way, so we've kind of just molded into the situation and carried it on. But yeah, we can always change it.
I think, artists have always been historically too busy for this motu, you know, and they've had to find their own kind of, carve out their own path, and sometimes that takes them off the whenua and, you know, tale as old as time, they get love and then they come back and they still have something to prove here. And Frankie Stevens is one of the voices on Aroha Bridge, so I be in the voice booth with him sometimes. And he talks about the history of the show bands and how they would have to go and tour and like all around like the States and take all of their kind of, you know, Māori vaudeville stuff there, and how cool it was because they were too hardcore back home, you know. And I loved hearing it because it gave me this sense of, I don't know, buzzy bitch genealogy, where you do have to kind of like reach and try new ways to get heard, or even refine your craft and, yeah, find audiences that don't kind of make you feel like you're out of place or useless or a freak. Yeah.
I'm really keen to hear your thoughts, Belle, as somebody who's like based overseas predominantly.
It sounds like it's a thing that's been happening forever, and so to go through it, you know, I'm talking about not feeling appreciated here, going overseas, instantly appreciated, heaps of gigs,
Instantly.
you know, I can live off my art, but not at home, and then coming back, and then, you know, everyone's excited because I'm back, you know. That's a thing, eh? And it's been a thing, and I don't know, it's interesting, I suppose, yeah, it's pretty buzzy. But thanks everyone for liking me now that I'm back. But yeah, I was cool before as well, but yeah, anyway.
You're not cool until you're cool. And that's saying you're not cool until you're cool.
Yeah, why do we need like an international audience to validate us?
It's the tall poppy thing, right? Like, unfortunately, that's our society, yeah. Just be quiet.
Yeah, cultural conditioning to kind of keep things, in check and familiar and in line with like a traditional trajectory of what a sound does, what an artist does. And I think as soon as you show, I don't know, artistic temperament, creativity, you know, it's like, get 'em.
It's like we're still battling with it being an actual real job, eh? Like people can't fathom.
That's real.
In Aotearoa, it's like, oh, what do you do? Music. Oh, what's your like real job? Yeah, music.
Yeah, so like I moved to Melbourne, right? Now I was there for 5 years, and the thing that like I noticed straight away when I got there was like, if you were a musician or a DJ, that's how you would introduce yourself, and they were proud, and you could get away with it there, like, you know. And then that made me feel cool to be an artist. Yeah, and I started introducing myself as, I'm Spell, I'm a DJ, and they're like, yeah, oh, that's cool, yeah, man, they're into it, you know. But come back here, you're embarrassed, you know. Oh, yeah, I'm a freelance, fucking, you know. I work in retail, you know, stuff. But really, we're artists.
Like, that's cooler than being a DJ, eh? I work in,
Yeah, and I had recent conversations with Cook Island artist Sam V, who speaks openly. We do a lot of work with youth and a lot of Pacific youth, and around the whole dealing with the humility, the cultural humility piece around that. Is like, you don't present yourself in a certain way, whereas Sam is of the position, says you don't jeopardize any part of yourself culturally by sitting in your power. Have you got some thoughts around that? I mean, it is a thing, right? Culturally, there is that natural humility that, like we're told, it's like, you know, the kumara doesn't speak of its own sweetness, that in some cases has a negative impact, right?
Yeah, especially for Māori rangatahi, I feel like it cripples them, man. Like, it is part of our culture to remain humble, and in doing so, sometimes you just cripple yourself into actually doing a lot of stuff. So, I don't know. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think one of the things, I have that deep, humble conditioning from both sides of my whānau, and that thing of not validating it as a real job, and the first artist, and like, you know, open artists, sort of like secret closet artists in my family. But I think one of the things that pulled me out of it was that whole, it's actually not about you, and it's actually when people give me that really sonic feedback about what it means to see somebody from a similar narrative as them, somebody who like makes music that they actually like, have the same kind of cultural background, you know, a queer person, you know, a big girl, whatever it is, you know, that actually pulls you out of hiding yourself in a way, and actually like makes you not be ambassadorial, you know, I must do it for the people. Like, hell no, I'm doing it for me too, you know. But it kind of like takes the toxic aspect out of it, and actually makes you go, yeah, you got to sit in your power, you have to share your gifts and your abilities, you have to transmit permission to other people so that they can see themselves in a way that is helpful and collaborative. Yeah, it's a lot of it's permission giving, I think, whether I like it or not, you know.
Mara, Majic.
I can't say it better than that. I wonder if it's British or something. Is it like British?
Ah, yeah.
Condition? Is that the root of this?
It's
like
westernised,
classes?
maybe, conditioned.
Speaking about permission, like that's a good way to shut it down. You know, if you just make everybody don't stand out too much because there's only certain ways that you're supposed to be viewed as successful or something. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know what it is. Yeah, because a lot of our people are, you know, sort of proud as well, and they're kind of outwardly proud. Yeah, I don't know whether.
I think we like to smuggle our greatness,
Yeah.
you know, across
Sneak
the
it in
line,
there.
sneak it in there and be like, oh, you thought that was cool? That was a little accident, despite me working on that for 2 years.
No, well, again, and see, Spell's an example of that, because like I know how hard the bro works, but when he, like a lot of the content the bro produces, it's almost like, oh no, this is effortless, I'm not even trying. Like that.
No, I'm trying, G.
Yeah.
I'm trying harder. Yeah.
But I know there's like a hip hop thing too, right? It's like if or even making an analogy to basketball, if like I can do it, but if I have to try it, if I have to make like there's effort in trying, and then somehow some of that is lost or compromised.
Nah, if you know, because I just stalked his Instagram before, and he's got 150k followers. Then you scroll down, and when someone's got an aesthetic on their page, you know they're handy. You know they're handy, and got like taglines and that.
No, yeah.
Shouts us.
And I think on spells is a nice segue into, because this is another thing that with Tere Moana, rapper who's in the room, but also with Sam V and other artists around, examples of artists who aren't working within the industry but have created their own ecosystem. And this is advice that I give to young artists in terms of how to sustain themselves in an industry, well, not without the industry support. And when I think Spell's a great example. Tom Scott, I've used this in a previous FETU where he created an ecosystem of either audience or following, or that he didn't need to rely on industry support or funding to drive his creativity or to financial benefit. Are there any examples on this other than the
Yes.
Spell?
Okay, cool. We get to talk about how cool our mates are. Okay, I want to do a big shout out to Rob, Ruha and Silla, because if we're talking about ecosystem, right, there's some really heavy ways that you can be of influence. In Te Ao Māori, it's a kapahaka group, tick. It's a school, tick. What else? It's being in the top 10 Māori artists in the country, mean. So it's also having the culture really alive in your family, te reo Māori, tikanga Māori, and they've got that. And so to me, if I was to look up to people in regards to an ecosystem of culture, those two would be pretty up there.
Rest of the panel, thoughts?
I think creating an ecosystem for yourself, a community for yourself, systems and intergenerational kind of relationships. That is kind of vital, especially if you start off as an underground artist where it's like, nobody's checking for you. You better work out ways in which to platform yourself and to create, I think, conversations and connections around your mahi or what it is you're trying to say. Find like-minded people. I think it's like it's beyond necessary, and I think it makes it, as you kind of ascend as well, and you grow and evolve as an artist, it means that you are contributing to the continuation, and that people are learning from you as you kind of rise, and you're learning from people before you. It's very much it's very, very necessary. We've had to do that with younger artists and more marginalised artists who don't have access to the more industrial models as well. Just kind of using my own experience of having to, I guess, get self-directed pretty quick. I want to always be teaching that to kind of younger artists around me, from all mediums as well, not just music.
Kia ora. Really, really keen to hear from you, Spell, as somebody who's a real prime example of
What's the question?
Creating your own ecosystem where you're not reliant on
Yeah.
a record label deal to sustain yourself. So somebody who's created. I think an example that I can draw to you is somebody like The Alchemist, right? Who has stepped away from signing major record label deals and has dedicated. One has liberated himself to make music that only he wants to make rather than what the label is directing. But it also, he understands that he has X amount of like people, like if he writes a song, then he knows that X amount of people will buy it. So straight away that he's created that, and it's a financial ecosystem, that's not necessarily a creative ecosystem, which he has that also. But from that financial perspective, it appears that you're functioning in that way. So what advice would you give to a young person that would want to attain that level?
Well, okay, so I mean, the only reason why like I have become self-sustainable is because none of the orgs were giving me funding. Yeah, no one wanted to give me money, so just no choice. Yeah, you have to push yourself to learn certain skills. It's 2025. We all have an iPhone in our pockets. Like, there's no excuses now. We all have YouTube. You can learn anything on YouTube. You can learn how to film. You can learn how to light a scene. You know, you can. We don't need the funders anymore. We don't need the major labels anymore. We can literally DIY everything. Yeah. And so I was forced into doing it, and that's Does that answer the question?
He was in Australia during COVID, you know, and I noticed that you had to transform into a whole new mode, you know, just to keep your lights on over there. And
pretty much, yeah.
So what does that say about the industry that talent alone doesn't warrant their attention?
And I know so many talented people that ain't doing shit.
Right. But if somebody who is of talent and working, but is still being ignored, so what?
Okay. Okay.
Because I mean, this is an example, like prime example A, right? Spell. You found a way to overcome that. I guess you're saying
the internet. Yeah, just utilizing the internet, you know, Instagram and social media, you know, TikTok and all that. Like, there's an audience, and they're right there on your phone. Yeah, of course you need to, you know, build it, and but I don't know, shit.
I think one thing that could help is just changing your perspective from being a survivor to a creator. And I think it all starts, and this is getting a bit fairy, but it does start like within you in the way that you think about everything. Because I've been singing professionally since I was 12, and I should have been maybe nominated for something at the NZ Award, but people who know in the industry just know, like, Mara might not have the biggest following, but if you don't know who this guy is and you're in the industry and you don't know that he's like literally an underground like atua, then you must not be like fully in the industry, because the industry is quite small. And I think what's important is just nurturing those relationships that you have with people. I was privy to be in an era where like a dude called Tama Waipara and Choi and that, Matariki and that, they're like my mates, like my actual mates, and they're all like 10 to 20 years older than me. I'm just turning 29 now. 30 this year. So it's just all about perspective. I follow this dude called Joe Dispenza, and he talks a lot about that, about just taking the driving wheel and actually starting to take control of your life.
Yeah. On Tama, I remember a few years back, Tama got very upset at the, I think it was called the New Zealand Music Awards then, around the treatment towards Māori artists. Has that changed?
I think so. It wasn't getting televised. That was the big thing. There's a lot of the awards that weren't getting televised. I think they're all televised now. So,
is it more than being televised? Do you feel like there's a level of respect?
If you look at the AMAs this year, it was pretty much dominated by
100%.
Māori artistry and artists. So yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
So like, It's cool to pay homage to the people who were like treading the paths when it wasn't cool.
Yes.
People like Upper Hutt Posse, Damn Native, Whaia Whiri would have been in that era, Whiri Mako Black, Whaia Tony Huata. I remember when Mace went on New Zealand Idol, and was it Megan? Nah, better not say names. Cut that out. She said, someone said to Mace, you're never going to get anywhere because she went on there and she sung a Māori song. And she's pretty much an icon, legend of Aotearoa Māori music now. And Troy, you've had a lot to play in that space where Māori, like I see that Māori is actually, it is commercialised a lot. It's actually quite cool to be Māori these days. There's a lot of businesses, believe it or not, that actually have to tick a box to say, now have you done your little Māori experience this year? You would know because you work with the council and they got that box. And you'd see that at most kaupapa.
Is this the box?
Yeah, like you'd see at most kaupapa. There's got to be a specific, very specific question that they've got to ask you, like, how does Matariki, influence, because the funding is coming from such and such, But, I mean, those were the people that were actually slumming it. Like, it was not cool to be Māori. So I'd say that, yeah, it's definitely better than what it was.
Yeah, and whilst we're looking back and acknowledging those, I think we should also, acknowledge those eras before, because I think they've fully influenced where we are now. And I'm talking about Prince Tuile Tui, and the High Marks, the Māori Hi-Fi, and all of those show bands that paved the way. That unfortunately, as we touched on earlier, had to go overseas for any level of validation or any level of career. That paved the way for Upper Hutt Posses and the Damn Natives for them to land at this point where we watched the Aotearoa Music Awards, well, it's been rebranded the Aotearoa Music Awards now, and it's just dominated, despite Chris Bishop.
Yeah, so that's amazing, but there is something that those people are getting out of it, because there is funding available, there is fruits available for people who, so I think that point that Troy brought up about funding, that anybody can access that funding. And it's quite a lot of funding, it's millions of dollars. So as amazing as it is, don't be fooled that those people aren't getting anything out of it.
No, 100%. I think that's the nature of industry, right? And I think the nature of the music industry is, and I think it's a standard dialogue and rhetoric within the industry to, talk about artist exploitation as if it's just a thing. It's not like a bad thing, it's a thing. Artist exploitation is part of being an artist within the industry. Anyways, we're going to move along. And I want to, because we're coming to a close, but
I just want to say something.
Oh, yeah, sure.
With artist exploitation being this industrial norm that is assumed with music in this country but globally, I find that artists like us unknowingly, when we enter into being artists, we just want to be like, oh, I like singing, I'm going to have a sing. You end up having to really, if you haven't already, been raised culturally with those value systems, even if you hadn't, you do kind of have to become you have to learn those systems in order to kind of protect yourself, help other people. You kind of end up creating this alternative reality, I am a music exec, I have these knowledges now because I've had to adapt and I've had to protect myself from exploitation in those ways, and I want to have anyone who collaborates with me, anyone around me kind of be aware that exploitation isn't shorthand for being an artist, and it's something that's I think, important to all of us, that if you are kind of like a Māori artist, musician, that you do want to make sure that the people around you, like that they're not getting rinsed in that way.
Yeah, and I think it leads into another question I'd like to ask, and that is, and this is not necessarily by age, but you are all super experienced and senior artists. What is the responsibility of senior artists within the community, within the ecosystem? And I'm looking more at Majic as someone by age.
I just went way off on your ecosystem, kōrero. His ecosystem question was way more on par.
But like in terms of what is the responsibility of senior artists to ensure some of that schooling to prepare and to clear the way for younger ones?
Well, I'd consider myself being in quite a privileged situation, because when I say I get paid for what I love doing, it's because I have a job with my iwi, Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei, and my job is literally vocal lessons with our babies. Now, I realise that our babies and their parents aren't coming into these lessons, all of them anyways, thinking, yep, this is going to be the next. So my perspective with what music actually is to the next generation is so much. Confidence rings a bell for me, because getting up and singing like on your own in front of people, that is so daunting to some people. And so it's what's behind music it's not just singing, it's not just playing some beats, it's actually way more than that. And so that's what it is really. Yeah, it's the principles behind music as well.
I think of your record label, like the artists that you got down in Pōneke that you work with, that you put on.
Gosh, I mean, they're way too cool for me to ever, to put in that sentence that I ever put them on. But they were, it was actually, we'll take Ma for instance, incredible artist, but actually her mother put me on. She gave me my first theatre gig, like just before COVID, and she was like, you're a good boy. Give me some music and I'll put it in my theatre and I'll give you a payday. And I was like, oh man, shot, auntie, thank you. So
it's not that simple.
Yeah. Well, she was still a kid. She was still a kid when her, Nancy Brunning, her mother passed away. And it was kind of like, this youngster in the city. So we kind of, and not just me, but our whole group of friends was like, okay, well, we'll look after you,
Was it like collective, like power, like decentralized, and people are all teaching everybody at different things?
I think she's just telling, she's running the show for whatever she wants to do, and to be honest, we just. The only thing I've actually done for her in the last year would be to make some fry bread. That's pretty much all I've done for her in the last year. Of consequence, made some probably quite tough little fry breads for her. But we're just here. We're just here for. There's three of us on this little label, and we just hang out together, and that's it really. From time to time, we'll have a little a meeting together and try and think about the next step. But I do not understand how to create an ecosystem or how the industry really works. And I've sort of let myself off the hook in current years where I'm just like, look, you tell me just how I can kind of support. And for the most part, she's just like, oh, just come to the gig, Ryan, you know, but I'll bring some kai.
I know, I know how to make an antithesis to the kind of music industry. I know how to make like opposite world, you know, and it's like our label is very much just people sitting around like making music and being like, what now? What should we do now? And kind of, yeah, just learning as we go. And if that's an ecosystem, I guess we have it.
Jess, you know, I look at Wheke Fortress and the work you're doing there as like almost like a village model that is doing it really, really organically, and like it's not overt teaching. But can you speak to like Wheke a little bit and the work you're doing there?
Shout out to Wheke Fortress, period. Yeah, it's a space, and it has a little music studio upstairs. Has like a room for like hui and writing, and then it has a small gallery downstairs, little sewing space, and people getting into Twitch and streaming. We've got a podcast coming out next month, so it's kind of, I just had a philosophy from some friends that I had made in Jakarta, actually. They had a theory that if you just get cool people in a room together and you don't have any agenda, the mahi and the magic just manifests and makes itself. You don't have to be prescriptive, you don't have to be kind of like hierarchical about it, especially if, you know, everybody's working in the same kind of creative spirit. Someone's name's got to be on the tenancy, it's mine. You know, I'm like the kuya of it. I wear it, you know, but in actuality, like, it's really about very creative people at all different ages, you know, Māori, Pasifika, queer predominantly, just being in the, just making together. And then you have little kind of K-pop subunits that break off and kind of say, well, we want to like be the film people, or we want to be the Twitch people, and the musician kind of faction is just upstairs all day, all night long. And I don't know if that's kind of what you mean. I think it's, but it is, we have a container there, and we have people with access to the space. We try and create as much kind of equity as possible, and there's no real kind of pressure to become something, but people do be becoming.
No, and I not to put it on you, but like that's largely due, my observations anyway, due to your leadership in that space and creating that space for fertile grounds to happen. So, yeah. I
think, you know, thank you. I'm uncomfortable, but I think you just try and like hack time and give yourself what you didn't have when you were younger, maybe.
No, yeah.
And I felt like I was always kind of on the outside of a lot of kind of musical scenes and stuff that I didn't necessarily want to be a part of, but it would have been nice to have been asked, that kind of thing. And it kind of was me just saying, oh, I really want, like, you know, a creative space for a lot of our young trans artists to have. I want, like, a safe space for people who are kind of, like, culturally disconnected, that they at least have, like, something there that they can be with their own and make, you know, difficult, experimental artists who kind of, like, can't seem to kind of lock in with other people as easily. They don't have this kind of commercial intention at all. I still feel like they deserve the right to, you know, create bangers like anyone else. It's a birthright. Yeah, and I get a lot of healing from it, to be honest. And I feel like it really helps my own artistry evolve, that I'm not kind of like in some retro heyday vacuum trying to like reprise like you know, when I was doing well, that it's actually I'm held accountable pop culturally as well. People are like, I'm in collaboration and conversation every day.
Is that, do you think, a natural evolution for you as an artist? And I guess it's a question for everyone in here to move into that space of mentoring?
Yeah, I'm a big picture person. I'm always kind of like, love making the art, but I'm also like get a bit engrossed as to the system that I get to make the art in, and the politics of it, and who has the purse, and why does it go there, and how long has that been going on? I'm always sticking my beak in very like, but I find it to be, you know, to be a wahine Māori artist is like to actually know what's going on. You kind of have to, you've got to be onto it like that so that you can inform other people and that your art speaks to something a bit bigger than just yourself.
The fact that you've fallen into that role, is that, do you hold any, is that due to any of your cultural values, or is it something that was more personal to you?
Thinking of, my whānau, I think I'm just, it's just like that. I'm just like that.
Yeah.
Is that tika?
But I'm just going to go back onto
Chorus, hey,
Yeah.
that's a good chorus. I'm just like that.
Just like that.
Mother's over here writing.
That's a good chorus.
But how you spoke to about just, you know, creating a space without agendas, and just a space for creatives just to come together with no expectations and no required outcomes. And I had the opportunity to attend a space like that was created by Spell recently on his return back here. He did exactly that. So can you speak to that, like your motivations to do that, Spell?
I guess, going overseas and seeing how they roll over there, like especially like Japan, and seeing like such a niche culture, you know, this beat culture, and how it really blossoms over there. And there's like there's a community, there's an economy that is self-sufficient, and it's a super small niche. And just seeing how they roll and seeing how cool shit just comes out of that. If there's, you know, a couple people that can just put a night here to, you know, a monthly together or something like that, you know, it didn't look like it was happening here. And then I thought, like it's pretty easy to just like ring the bell and be like, can I have your bar for a night? And then I thought maybe we could do some kind of a wānanga, like a part of it, an exchange. And so we did that the next day. You know, we got the Airbnb, and we had, you know, sorry I didn't give you the invite, but it was mean.
Was the Airbnb flash?
It was so flash, yeah.
It was a 2-story spot just up off Ponsonby Road. It was very flash.
But also, like, yeah, we didn't need to tick any boxes because it was, you know, it was just us doing it.
No, that's right.
Which was important to me, I think. Yeah.
No, again, and that just mirrors exactly what Jess was saying about what Wheke Fortress it says.
When you don't have to tick a box,
Yeah, it's just magic just makes itself free.
you're freed of a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the politics goes out of the way, and there's just creating art. I am mindful of time, and there is one more question I'd like to ask, but like, just want to open up to the audience. If there's any questions from the audience, you're welcome to ask a question from the floor, or you can come up and take the mic.
Albums or singles, or like, what do you guys believe in putting out?
I think albums have been dead for a very long time. We're definitely the age of the single, not even the single, like the 20-second bite. Unfortunate for me, I've been doing this album thing for the last 9 or so years, but I'm still putting out albums. It's probably not the best thing to do, but I'm still doing it.
Anyone else got thoughts on that? No. Any more questions?
Do what you want, man. Just do it.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, Dylan.
I wanted to ask how everyone approaches evolving as an artist, like over time, your influences, and just how you approach art.
My one's pretty easy. Changing it up every year, trying to, of those that don't know, I'm doing this 10 album, 10 genre, 10 year thing. So every year I get to be influenced by a whole different style of music. There was one year there where I don't even know what folk music was really, but I did a folk album. And now Nick Drake, Riverman's like my favorite song of all time, so putting yourself in a position where you wouldn't necessarily be listening to something, but because you've forced yourself to, you end up being inspired by stuff you never would have been inspired by otherwise. So, so it's kind of changed over the last few years. As I've gotten older and gotten more cynical and very pessimistic, I can't wait for this damn thing to be over. But at least the first 5 years, I'd spend a good 8 months. I'd have a Spotify playlist of songs of that particular style of music that I just want to listen to and start picking apart. And on all my drives, I'd listen to these things and try and figure out what is the essence of these songs, why do they have this particular sound. For instance, on my reggae album, I didn't want to listen to no Bob Marley, that's too obvious. So I stuck solely with the Abyssinians, and just listening to that music a lot, I was like, okay, so they've got a guitar that doubles the bass, and I was calling it the chicken bass, a muted tuk, 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 tuk. And the type of reggae I like wasn't necessarily like ragey reggae, it was very spiritual, Rastafarian reggae, and without going as far as becoming a Rasta, and how else could I make this music as authentic as I could? And that's when I went down the route, or the route, however you want to say it, of making it, it was going to be about Māori stories, but then it ended up being Indigenous politics, because at the time I was doing a lot of stuff with Indigenous artists through short film and stuff like that, and just having big conversations, hui wānanga, and I felt like through that I would get the same essence that I got from listening to Rasta music while still being authentic to myself. But yeah, and then all my songs ended up being one drop, not very ragey, but that's the music I love, and I wanted it to be reggae that people sat down and just chilled to and listened to the lyrics. It wasn't about going to party and rage to my reggae. And then, put that album out, very next album, a funk album. Same thing, you're listening to the stuff that you want to emulate. Curtis Mayfield, who else? Well, Zygatron album with this dude, when I brought him on board, all I was listening to was the Isley Brothers and Shaggy Otis. So, I feel like you really got, if you want to go deep on something, find the stuff that you love and surround yourself with it. Not try and copy that shit, but try and find your way into that style. Find your way into that vibe. One more to go, man. Then I can have a big sleep.
Anyone else got thoughts on your creative practice? Thanks for that question too, Dylan.
I reckon just stay tuned to how things make you feel. I haven't released a lot of music because I'm my own worst critic. It gets to the point where I go to release it and I'm like, nah, the weather's changed now, and so have my feelings towards this project. So I'd actually just encourage you to just do it, bro. Because you can kind of get in the way of yourself. But just stay in tune with what you're being influenced by and why. And I think if building an audience is something that's important to your livelihood, etc., then I think you have to be a little bit more intentional on what the going rate is. But some of us just firstly do music because of the way it makes us feel personally, and yeah, you'd be the right person for this. You're the content.
What's the
king.
question?
Evolving over the years, just like how your art's evolved, how you approach it.
How I approach evolving as an artist?
I evolve.
Yeah. I don't really think of this. It happens. It just happens. It happens naturally, right? No.
Maybe
I'm
for you.
I think usually
Oh,
it
man.
does, yeah.
Let me see.
Were there any points where you were like, this is the road that I need to go down? Like I remember tuning into something of yours, and I was like, damn, the bro can play keys mean now. So was there a point where you were like, this is where I need to go?
Yes.
I need
Yeah.
to learn this.
Yeah. There was a point, and then I just did it. Nah,
He's a doer.
nah.
He's in the 1%, this guy.
No. I mean, it was.
What a genius!
No, yeah, there was a point where I was like, oh man, I'm pretty sure if I knew how to play the piano, like,
It would unlock something.
yes, and so I started that journey of trying to figure out the piano, yeah, and I just was very passionate and just
Hardworking.
just that was what we were doing for 10, 15 years, yeah. And then I guess at one point I started to show people that, oh yeah, I've kind of been trying to learn this piano thing. And I guess maybe that's when you would have seen like, oh, I can kind of play a little bit, you know. Does that answer the question? Shit.
Yeah. Any more questions from the audience? Yo.
Oh, I just want to answer that question too. Ngā mahi nui kia
Sorry.
korua. AJ and Allan, who do good stuff with Manuka Records too. For me, like evolution as an artist is really all anchored in the personal. I don't think of it in terms of maybe I'll get a little artistic ambition, like, oh, I want to do that, and I might like Capricorn crawl towards it, you know, like slowly over time. And I think it's all tied to the narrative of my life. And I just use like the artistry as a way to hold those feelings, and I try and find any medium. Doesn't have to just be music. Sometimes music can't hold it. It's not the right glass for it. You know, I got to find another shape. And I think that is just all I do. It's just like move forward, trying to like offset the things in which to kind of heal and be, you know, a better person and an artist, just the way in which I can do it.
Joyce. Anyone else on the panel want to speak to that?
It's a mean question. It's a mean question. Great question.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of want to ask like a fun question, because all night I've been hearing that you're Māori artists or artists of Māori descent. What's the last song that you liked on Spotify?
Oh, Drifting Clouds. Anybody heard that one? Production's like 80s airs, little almost disco vibe, but an artist from up in Arnhem Land, I think, Northern Territory, Australia.
Oh, I saw you share that.
Real
Yeah.
Drifting Clouds, that's a mean one.
Yeah.
I really don't know, because I just keep going back to my Sting playlist and
Is it called that? Sting playlist?
nothing sticks out. Last song I played was Seabird, Alessi Brothers. Seabird, seabird, fly on. That's the last song I played. Yeah.
I got to go to France last week to an animation festival, and we were at the house, and we were trying to scramble for any French music that we knew so we could feel more French. So we had Eartha Kitt, C'est Bon, and Écoute Chérie, the bop that's like doing numbers on TikTok, and yeah, lots of French music, and it was really cool. I felt like a classy lady.
Magic.
I was just randomly listening to Joseph Solomon last night because I was trying to put my kids to bed, and then it went on a random playlist, and I kind of digged some of the songs. Mine's not that amazing. It's just God Went Crazy by Teddy Swims. That wasn't intentional. The last intentional one was E Kore Rawa E Wehe by Teeks, because I'm singing it with Holly Smith on Friday. So if you guys want to come to a cool gig, it's only $20 and it's down at the Tuning Fork, 6 p.m. this Matariki on Friday. Just a little promo, eh?
What are you listening to, Spell?
Was the question, what was the last song I liked on Spotify? Bro, the last song I liked was No More by 3LW. So, I don't know what that means. Do you want the second one? That song, Juna by Clairo. So,
Yeah, there's an artist I discovered recently by the name of Voltage Controller. I think you should all take a listen to that. I think this Afro-Japanese guy is...
Oh, can I just plug something?
Sure.
At Wheke Fortress on Friday, we've got Matariki party, and our amazing artist called Matariki is playing.
Brown Boy Magic.
And Brown Boy Magic and Elijah are playing, and we've got a specially made Maramataka calendar by Oriwa, our astronomer, community astronomer at Stardome has made it, and we're going to have a big feed as well. So come on Friday if you're around.
No, and I would be...
Six-ish? Oh, what time does that start?
When do you have to go?
Yeah, that's when my one is.
So we're cannibalizing each other's audience here.
No.
is there a feed at your one?
Well, if you can't come to the one on Friday because you're going to their one, you can come down to the Silo on Saturday at 6 p.m. and they got a bridge light show happening, and I'll be singing to that. So, what else you got? No,
It's battles now.
because I can go next week. No.
We got one tomorrow night, but it's
It's sold out.
yeah, it's sold out. Never mind.
Sorry.
We'll take one more question from the floor. Yo, at the back.
Good song choice here, though. It's my favourite song. Love that song.
Yeah.
Moving on to my actual question. I guess this is one of the others. I'm studying currently to be a music teacher at the university. I've learned a lot recently as a white collar about Tāmaki and uplifting Māori. I just wondered if you had any advice about young students that are going to come across in the future from sort of Māori ancestry and how they could express themselves through music in a way that sort of uplifts or maybe reconnects with culture that they may have lost, and some advice I could give that might help them on their journey.
Go Madge.
Go Magic.
Yeah, that's a tricky question, that, because I do a little bit of mahi at SAE, the music university. I think that's the only one now, because Maine's shut down.
Well,
I think they might be reopening.
There was a reiteration of mains. I think they called themselves mains, but I don't think it is the old mains. And I think that's happening out in OMAC, but again, I'm not too sure on the start date of that course.
And then obviously the Auckland Uni, but they kind of came to me and said, all right, so how can we create a bridge for people who, just pretty much your question, and it was hard for me to answer if you don't have the reo. So I feel that there is enough free online, offline opportunities for you to dive into learning te reo Māori. And I'm not having a dig, it's just when you, I went to this wānanga and my brother was doing a session, and just because he was my brother, I said to him, why do you ask everybody their opinions when you can just give us the answer? And he's like, because then we're teaching people to go, just give it to me, instead of experiencing things on their own. So it gets to that point where it's a taola pōhiri, taola Māori word, taola this and that, but really, I think what we need to do if we really are wanting to learn more about our culture, it really is learning the language, humbly.
True.
But I do go to SAE and give them Māori words. I do a session, so yeah, there is that part there where some of them have a little bit of reo, and we're just there to help them out with maybe you could get a mentor in, get someone who already knows how to speak, just problem solutions here, getting people who know how to speak and having seminars with them within your day, and they can spend that time either teaching. An easy way of incorporating reo Māori into your music is whakatauki, the Māori proverbs, because within those proverbs it means a lot. So those are the ones that I tend to go for if it's a quick chuck a Māori word in there. Yeah.
Just a little practical one. You could do some lyric writing with people. I like to start out just sort of stream of consciousness on a piece of paper, and then just get them to screw it up and throw it out. Just any stuff that's clogging them up, and you say this, write anything that's in your way on the piece of paper, and then we're going to screw it up, we're going to throw it out. You can also sort of disguise some breathing exercises as vocal warm-ups too when they come in the morning. Okay, we're going to do these vocal warm-ups, but they're actually breathing exercises. So yeah, just making it you can be their therapist if you want, or you can also you can just disguise things in there, a little yoga vibe at the start or something that makes it a little peaceful space that they enjoy. And yeah, there'll be all kinds of kids in there from all walks of life, Māori, Polynesian kids, or all sorts of kids that'll need a bit of extra awhi and music is so good for that, but you might just have to keep an eye on them and do your best. Big job. But good on you, bro. Thank you for the question.
I am super mindful that we're already half an hour over time, but I just one last question from me, and then hopefully everyone on the panel can answer, and that is what are your hopes for the next generation?
I hope the next generation makes cool shit that I want to listen to. That's it.
Yeah. I hope the next generation makes cool shit that I want to listen to, and I hope that they make it in a climate that improves for them, politically, culturally, whatever. And I hope that we prioritise kind of like community and process over the kind of hit factory outcome. We go back to the kind of like more healing principles of music as rongoa, as well as making a smash.
Mara?
Yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be cool if the funders and all of us sort of figured out ways of rerouting all this money, because like I've got I can't fathom sort of spending $6,000 on a music video, when like the school my kids go to, like their lunches suck, are terrible. So, and likewise with the environment, can we figure out some ways to just reroute some of this money to do some more meaningful stuff if it's, and that there might be, there's probably a lot of ways to do that. More clever people than me to figure out some meaningful places to put the music. Put the money. Obviously, our communities are going to, put the money into that. But I feel like sometimes I feel like a cog in a bit of a wasteful sort of society. In the music industry is a bit that way too, flying around everywhere to do some gigs. Some days it just feels a bit silly. Just something to think about. How to shift that over the long term.
Get a horse, man.
Get a horse, get some horses. Straight up. It's racist.
No, choice. Yeah, magic.
I don't know if this is just for the up and coming generation. I think this is for all of us. I think mental health is a big thing, because the suicide rate is terrible. And before, I always say this because I'm involved in a lot of strategic thinking on how to uplift iwi, and especially my own. And I always remind people that no one cares about tikanga Māori if they're just surviving and they actually can't afford. It's irrelevant to people when they're just trying to survive, So for my child who's fallen asleep at the back there, mental health and perseverance would be a biggie, because if you're not equipped with the skills to persevere, because life's tough, It's easy dying, actually. It's easier to just than it is to try and live a prosperous life. And so mental health and upskilling in those areas, that's what I'd want for my kids.
Yeah. I think, well, I totally agree with that, because I think resilience is a major thing. With resilience, like whatever the challenge can be attained through resilience. Final thoughts, Spell?
Can you say something funny? Because I always say real life. Serious.
What's the question, Rangatahi? Moving
Next
into the
generation,
future.
hopes for.
I hope they take what we are doing and have done, and like take all the dumb shit that we've been doing and just get rid of it, and a better version of what we're trying to do, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And I'll just add to that, just to close, because that's something that I teach my kids, is that and young people in general, is that with my sons and my daughter, that I told them that your ceiling, my ceiling should be your floor. And I think just setting that expectation that like the best of me is where you should start, then I think with that, ascension is inevitable for our rangatahi. And if they set that example, then progression is all but guaranteed at that point. On that, a round of applause, please, for Troy Kingi, Coco Solid, Matariki, Majic Paora. And thank you to FETU Creative Forum for having us. Thank you to Auckland Council. Thank you to MOTAT. I kindly ask Sister Madge, could you close us with the karakia, please, sis?
Taala karakia, man.
Yeah. That's because I don't have one. So.
Women don't do karakia now, eh?
Yeah, you're shit out. E te atua whakatiwera tia manga kua te tiko te pono te māramatanga ki a mātou I tēnei pō mātou koe whakamumi te whakroria ki toi mua tapu. Harmony.